Buying a home and losing a job shortly after. Going to college when I wasn't ready. Generational bad fumbling. Safe to say that friendship is over.
Hey everyone, today I decided to switch it up a bit, and today we're going to be reacting to Redditors' worst financial decisions with the hope that we can learn from them and also hopefully avoid them in the future. If you're new here, my name is Mitchell and I work in the accounting field, so I spend a lot of my time thinking and talking about personal finance and finances just in general. So I thought it'd be fun to see what people on Reddit are saying, and yeah, let's just jump right into it. I tried to time the market around 2008 to 2010. I would be worth 2 to 3 times what I'm worth now if I hadn't. Some lessons are expensive. See, this is a very important lesson that hopefully you can learn before you make the mistake. You can learn from others. But a lot of people end up learning this one the hard way. And that's that timing the market just is not very easy. Unfortunately, for him and many others, people try to time the market and then they end up just missing out on the days with the biggest gains. They are there for the days with the biggest losses, and it just doesn't really work out well for most people. So if I could offer advice to you, it'd be don't try to time the market. Just invest consistently over time, and usually the general trend is that it will grow. Let's try not to time the market. If I were you, I would not try to do it because I don't know anyone who's successful at it. Going to 5th grade instead of buying a house at 8 years old. Same, brother. Same. That's a tough one. Getting involved with sports betting. See, this one's a big problem, especially among people my age, or amongst guys my age that I know. We're getting a little bit of income coming in now that we're in our 20s, and we go and try to gamble it. And I've heard terrible stories of people just they throw their money at these gambling websites because they think they're going to win because they think they know sports really well. But for most people, it doesn't work out that way. I've heard some ridiculous parlays, some ridiculous bets that people try to get to hit, and lo and behold, there's no money at the end. I think this one, if you want to do sports betting, you have to be very, very careful. I don't advise it probably for anyone. I don't do it. I don't think it's a smart decision with your money. But if it's something you enjoy, just make sure you limit it. Like, just set aside a little fund for it. Don't go more than that. But even then, that's a dangerous game because who knows? You'll just want to keep throwing more and more at it. So maybe the verdict here is don't get involved with sports betting. Invest in individual stocks instead of all in the S&P 500. Lost $30,000. Will never do that again. This one is a lesson in diversity. You don't want your portfolio to be made up of all one stock because what happened to this guy could happen to you, and if that one stock happens to tank, you lose all your money. That's why index funds, ETFs, those things, are generally better because you can spread your money across a wider range of stocks. For example, S&P 500 index fund would spread it across the 500 biggest companies in the United States, which lowers your risk significantly. Yeah, that's personally how I invest. You can do what you want, but maybe learn from this guy. Individual stocks can be a really hard, difficult, dangerous thing to be involved with. I think what was technically my worst financial decision was also my best life decision. I quit a job where I was earning $200,000 a year to go travel the world for a few years. I gave up that income as well as equity, but I had the best experiences I've ever known in my life. I was able to get another job that paid equally as well when I came back, but I missed out on $400K in earnings and gave up some substantial equity. With all that said, I think when I near death, I will value those experiences far more than I value the extra money. See, this one here, I don't know if that's a big financial mistake. Obviously, yes, he lost out on a couple years of making $200,000 a year. But I'm guessing, one, if he is making this much, he's probably got enough money left around that he can afford to do something like this. You can't afford to do something like this if you have no savings, if you have no backup, if you have no degree, if you have all those things that can provide some security around your financial situation. I think this is a good life lesson because he had to forego $400,000 in earnings, which is an incredible amount of money, but he also used the money to do something that he wanted to do, which I think is an important lesson because if you have the money laying around, the money is there to be spent, so you should do things that you enjoy if you have it available to you. Now, don't obviously do this if you have no savings, you have no backup plan for when you get back, you think it will be hard to find a job. I would avoid that, but in this guy's situation, a bad financial decision probably isn't detrimental to his financial journey. It's probably not detrimental to his life, and honestly, it looks like he enjoyed it, so yeah. Credit card debt and getting a useless bachelor's of psychology. Now, credit card debt's a very tough one because if you're going to have credit cards, you have to be using them responsibly. You have to be paying them off in full every month. If you can't do that, I would stay away from credit cards. They probably aren't for you. They have extremely high interest rates. Right now, something around like 25% or something. So I don't think that's for anyone if they can't control their spending, if they can't pay it off in full. Yeah, credit cards have their place. I personally love credit cards, but I pay them off in full every month. So it's not impactful to me, or it's not negatively impactful to me to use the credit cards. But please do not go into credit card debt for sign-up bonuses, to travel, any of that. Please use your credit cards responsibly if you have them. Then as for getting a useless bachelor's of psychology, that's a tough one because who knows? I bet there are people out there who are making a lot of money in psychology. So it's probably not completely useless, but clearly this user didn't use it. So to them, it is useless. I think it's generally a good idea if you're going to college to pick out a major and degree that will give you some ROI. You don't want to spend $100,000, $200,000 to get an education and then you don't have a job after it. It is tough because you want to balance like something you enjoy with what's making money. And there's probably a healthy balance. If you're going to go to college, I would recommend probably getting a degree that earns some money, has some good job security, those sorts of things. But to call it useless for everybody, that's probably an overstatement. Just this user didn't use it. Verdict here, get a degree you will use. 2020, I had been in a relationship with a woman for a few years. She had an administration job and just got laid off during the pandemic. She approached me and said she really wanted to go get to her associates in nursing, but would have to take out loans, so asked if I could help pay. I agreed to help her and paid about $18,000 over 2 years. 5 days after graduating with her ADN, she left me. Man, I feel for this person. That is incredibly difficult. I think here the lesson is don't pay for somebody's college education if you're not going to marry them, or if you're not married to them. Because until you've made that commitment, you're legally connected, anything could happen, they could leave you. So I would not pay for anybody's education unless you're married to them. Joining the Wall Street Bets subreddit. Now for the uninitiated, Wall Street Bets is a subreddit that has some interesting personal finance advice. Some crazy things have gone on there in the past. If you know anything about the GameStop stock craze, it happened because of Wall Street Bets. Obviously, not everybody on there is a financial expert, so I would do your own research before just going all in on what Wall Street Bets tells you what to do. Because, unfortunately, you may be misled, and you could lose all your money. Somebody responded, false, quitting Wall Street Bets subreddit before you hit. That's pretty funny. That reminds me of the age-old adage, which is every gambler quits before they hit it big, which, although funny, is not true. And you gotta be careful. Yeah, perform your due diligence when you're investing. Look into things. Don't take any one person's advice. Definitely don't do it because somebody like me tells you to go invest into something on the internet. Be careful with your investing. Be smart about it. Not putting more into my retirement when I was younger. Started around 6% when I was 24, maybe around 10 when I was 30. Should have been putting in a lot more when I was young. Listen to me, young people. Now this one is a great one that we can learn from because it has a great moral to the story, and that's you want to be investing early because that's what's going to give compound interest the longest amount of time to make a difference in your life, to grow your wealth. And for most people, it will be the way you grow your wealth the most over the course of your life. So it's smart to do it early. Generally, the recommendation for your retirement is somewhere around 15% of your income should be going towards your retirement accounts. So I think that's a pretty good place to start. I think you'll have it pretty figured out if you do that. Hopefully, you won't make the same mistake as this guy. And no matter where you're at in your financial journey, you should probably start investing now because, well, you're not getting any younger. And you should probably be doing that if you want to grow your wealth. Going to college when I wasn't ready. See, now this one's a little bit similar to that one we talked about previously. Going to college is great, can be great. It doesn't make sense for everybody. And if you're going to go to college, you probably should know what it is relatively that you want to do. Maybe you don't have to know exactly what it is you want to do, but you should at least be prepared. I mean, even for someone like myself, I wasn't 100% sure what I wanted to do when I was going into college. Luckily, I was able to find my way, pick a career and a major that is pretty reliable, has good financial incentives, that sort of thing. But yeah, don't be going to college if you aren't going to use a degree. If you already know you don't want to use a degree, I wouldn't go to college. You don't want to blow $100,000, $200,000, that sort of thing, just to not use your degree. So that one's really tough. Don't do that one as well. Wasting my time on Reddit. which ironically we're all doing right now by watching this video, but it's probably got a good lesson to it. Don't spend all your time on social media. Maybe split it a little bit, doing things that are productive for your future, working, those sorts of things. But yeah, it's not all social media is bad, just in moderation, like everything. Traded in a perfectly working car for a new one because I got a new job and wanted the upgrade. I hate this car and can't wait to get away from it. Only 3 more years. Now this one is a perfect example of lifestyle inflation and why we want to avoid it. If you don't know what lifestyle inflation is, it's pretty much exactly what happened here. You get a new job, you get a bigger raise, and all of a sudden you have a little bit more money laying around, and so you just start going and spending recklessly on things you don't need, like a new car, and it's a big financial mistake. For this guy, it looks like he says only 3 more years, so I don't know if he's in a lease or he's got a loan to pay off, both of which you can probably buy out of, but that's a really expensive mistake. Do your research. Make sure you pick out a car you want if you're going to do this, but also it's an important lesson that even if you're making more money, you don't need to get a new car. You can enjoy life without a fancy car. Plenty of people do it. Lesson here, avoid lifestyle inflation. Buying a home and losing a job shortly after. This one, that's unfortunate. I think if you're going to buy a home, you should have some money saved up in case this does happen. We don't know based on what this guy says, but hopefully he did have some sort of emergency fund that could help cover his housing costs while he looked for a new job. But yeah, you got to be prepared. Unfortunately, sometimes life happens and you got to be ready for it. So yes, I think this is a great indicator that you should probably have an emergency fund. This guy here says boat, which that's kind of funny. I kind of have heard this one a little bit. I don't know anyone who owns a boat or who's paid for a boat, but I've heard of people who they end up buying a boat and it's really expensive and they don't really got the money for it. I mean, I don't know how much boats exactly are. I'm sure you could find them for $50,000, $100,000. I mean, you could probably go so high in cost for a boat, but most people don't have the money just laying around for that. It's definitely a luxury, and it sounds like maybe some people regret it because it's just a money pit. I mean, if you're only going boating a handful of times a year, it's probably cheaper to just rent a boat for the day anyways every time you go than owning a $70,000 boat that you have to pay off. So, lesson here, don't buy a boat unless you have a lot of extra money. This is bought a franchise, which that's a little bit unique. I don't know anyone in the franchising business, anyone who's bought a franchise, but I guess that kind of makes sense. Maybe there's a lot of costs you wouldn't imagine because you have all the royalties that you have to pay, the franchise fees, those sorts of things, and maybe that eats away at your profits a lot and it makes it really hard to do. I'm not exactly sure how the franchising business works, so if you have any knowledge of this, you know somebody who's in it, let me know. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe this has some merit. Who knows? Started a business with somebody who had no desire to work. If you're thinking about going into business with a friend, just don't. See, this one, again, it's another story about going into business with a friend. I don't think it's probably the worst thing in the world to go into business with a friend if you've vetted out that friend already. I'm hoping if they're a real friend that you would know their work habits. You would know if they're kind of lazy, they're kind of difficult to deal with. I'm sure, though, there is probably a lesson here in that even if you know somebody very well, maybe when you get into business with them, you find things that you don't really like, and it's hard to do business with them. So yeah, lesson here, potentially don't start a business with a friend. If you do, you got to be really sure about it, and you got to know the risk you're taking. But I also like to think that starting a business with a friend could be good. I like to think that you can get to the top faster by working with people. So yeah, I don't know about that one. Co-signing a car for a friend. Safe to say that friendship is over. Another friend story. Yeah, if your friend asks you to co-sign on their car, just say no. Say that it's not really a smart financial decision. Because if you're doing that, you're putting your credit on the line, you're putting your money on the line. Because if your friend doesn't pay, they'll come for the co-signer, they'll come for you. And I would not do that. I think that's a pretty solid way to put your friendship at risk too, because now you're going to lose a friend over something because they aren't going to pay back, that sort of thing. I feel bad for this person. But yeah, lesson here, don't co-sign a car, don't co-sign anything really for a friend. I knew someone who got a loan for their wedding but decided to blow it all at a casino. Now they have a loan for $20K to pay off and nothing to show for it. This one's absolutely mind-blowing. I don't know how you could get a loan for a wedding, which probably isn't a great idea to get a loan for a wedding regardless, but then instead of actually using it for the purpose you loaned it out for, you go to a casino. 2 lessons here. 1, don't get a loan that you're going to go and just blow at the casino. You're going to be in a bad financial decision. You're going to have a lot of money to pay off. And 2, only use loans that you get for the intended purpose. It would be very bad to go spend your loan money on something else and then you have to pay that loan back and you can't. So let's avoid that. How about that, guys? Had a coworker with 5 kids who could all go to USC for free once he has worked there for 15 years, even if he quit. He quit at 14 and a half years for a job that barely paid more, cost all 5 kids a free education at a top school since he couldn't wait 6 more months. Wow. The guy below him says generational bag fumble, and I agree. That is an insane bag fumble. With the price of college, that is so much money, especially at USC. I mean, for 5 kids, 4 years at a school that's like $70,000. Oh my gosh, I don't even want to think about how much money he lost by doing that decision. Yeah, I don't know. That one's tough. I would have just stuck it out for another half year. I don't know why he couldn't have just stuck it out for another half year. That'd be incredible to go to USC for free, but you're just like, no, I want a job for another couple $1,000, and now my kids don't have a free college education. That one doesn't make much sense to me. Very, very, very bad. That one's maybe the worst one we've read so far. I think we'll leave it off there for today, but if you like this style video, let me know down in the comments, and maybe check out this video over here that YouTube thinks you might like. Thank you very much for watching.